They say information on the internet lasts forever. But what if that isn't entirely true? What if some of the most mind-bending discoveries, forbidden theories, and lost blueprints of civilizations were once uploaded, viewed briefly, and then wiped, archived, or hidden in digital shadows? Welcome, curious wanderers of the unknown, to another deep dive on Black Thread Mysteries, where today we're unraveling the eerie digital catacombs of the web, the hidden archives of lost knowledge, from ancient wisdom that mysteriously found its way into obscure forums, to research papers that vanished overnight, to pages that were buried under countless layers of redirects and bans. We're stepping into corners of the net that even algorithms can't explain. Whether you're a returning subscriber or just stumbled here because the algorithm got weird, you're in for something surreal. This isn't your usual dark web horror tale or list of conspiracy rabbit holes. This is about real content, intellectual gold, that briefly flickered on digital screens and then seemingly erased itself. Why do some web pages from just 10 years ago feel like they never existed? Who's pulling the strings behind digital deletions? And why do some of these deleted pages show up only in fragmented bits on niche archiving tools? Throughout this video, we'll explore some of the most intriguing examples of this phenomenon. Pages that once held blueprints for ancient machines, alternative scientific theories that challenged mainstream thought, and even leaked intelligence documents that sparked brief hysteria before vanishing completely. Think of this as a ghost tour, not of haunted houses, but haunted hard drives. So sit back, maybe turn off your lights, and prepare to hear names, keywords, and whispers that Google no longer recognizes. And if you think you've seen everything the internet has to offer, trust me, They say information on the internet lasts forever. But what if that isn't entirely true? What if some of the most mind-bending discoveries, forbidden theories, and lost blueprints of civilizations were once uploaded, viewed briefly, and then wiped, archived, or hidden in digital shadows? Welcome, curious wanderers of the unknown, to another deep dive on Black Thread Mysteries, where today we're unraveling the eerie digital catacombs of the web, the hidden archives of lost knowledge, from ancient wisdom that mysteriously found its way into obscure forums, to research papers that vanished overnight, to pages that were buried under countless layers of redirects and bans. We're stepping into corners of the net that even algorithms can't explain. Whether you're a returning subscriber or just stumbled here because the algorithm got weird, you're in for something surreal. This isn't your usual dark web horror tale or list of conspiracy rabbit holes. This is about real content, intellectual gold, that briefly flickered on digital screens and then seemingly erased itself. Why do some web pages from just 10 years ago feel like they never existed? Who's pulling the strings behind digital deletions? And why do some of these deleted pages show up only in fragmented bits on niche archiving tools? Throughout this video, we'll explore some of the most intriguing examples of this phenomenon. Pages that once held blueprints for ancient machines, alternative scientific theories that challenged mainstream thought, and even leaked intelligence documents that sparked brief hysteria before vanishing completely. Think of this as a ghost tour, not of haunted houses, but haunted hard drives. So sit back, maybe turn off your lights, and prepare to hear names, keywords, and whispers that Google no longer recognizes. And if you think you've seen everything the internet has to offer, trust me, One of the earliest documented cases of digital disappearance involves something known only as Project Cygnus. Mentioned briefly in a now-defunct tech journal in the early 2000s, Cygnus was reportedly a collaborative open-source effort that aimed to simulate human consciousness using neural feedback loops and archived behavioral data. The project allegedly combined machine learning models with ancient Buddhist philosophy, cognitive science, and 1960s psychology notes found in declassified military libraries. Within months of it gaining traction, all links to the main repository disappeared. GitHub forks were taken down, subreddits locked, and references to Cygnus began vanishing from forums like Something Awful and Dig. Most tellingly, Even screenshots uploaded to independent image boards became dead links. Theories about its removal range from absurd to terrifying. Some believe the project was absorbed by a private defense contractor. Others suggest it reached results that frightened its creators, mirroring themes from speculative fiction where simulations became aware or recursive. A few remnants still exist. Code snippets preserved in email chains and old Usenet dumps, but they're incomplete, cryptic, often broken. For those who've managed to collect fragments, none could rebuild it entirely. Even the name Cygnus might be symbolic, referring to the swan constellation long associated with cosmic gateways in mythology. Was this symbolic naming intentional? Was Cygnus just an experiment, or a digital ritual wrapped in code? Interestingly, what made Cygnus truly unsettling wasn't just what it tried to do, but how it quietly slipped out of the internet's collective memory. Not through some dramatic deletion, but through a gradual process of decay. Broken links, expired domains, altered search results. It's as if the web itself was rewiring its memory, one page at a time. But digital archaeologists, yes, they exist, have tried to reconstruct its trail. Some even wrote academic papers on the erasure patterns seen in Cygnus's online traces, noting that its deletion pattern didn't match traditional takedowns. There were no mass copyright claims, no lawsuits. It just faded. And this is not an isolated case. Cygnus may be the best documented, but it marks only the beginning of a long hidden history of knowledge removed from plain sight, not by hackers, but by time, entropy, and silence. In the early 2000s, a mysterious website known as Libretto.net gained quiet popularity among fringe academics, spiritual seekers, and amateur historians. Hosted on an Eastern European server and accessible only through direct IP links for most of its life, Libretto.net claimed to archive translated versions of ancient manuscripts, texts said to have been discovered in Siberian ice caves, African temples, and under Vatican storage. While many of the documents appeared fantastical, speaking of lost continents, sky beings, and trans-dimensional rituals, some were disturbingly plausible. One recurring manuscript was dubbed the Spiral of Asha, an alleged 13th century Indian document referencing cyclical time theory, celestial gates, and instructions for recording memory beyond flesh. Some researchers argued that parts of it echoed Vedic language structure and metaphysical parallels, but linguists were split. Critics dismissed it as a forgery created to mimic Sanskrit derivatives. Still, it sparked enough discussion that forums like Above Top Secret and Esoteric Online saw weekly debates on its legitimacy. Then, within months, Libretto.net vanished. Its DNS records were wiped. Archived versions on the Wayback Machine returned empty frames. Even screenshots posted in forums became image not found errors. Some users who downloaded PDFs claimed their hard drives crashed weeks later. A string of coincidences, some blamed on malware, others on something more sinister. What stood out most was how little media coverage this disappearance received. It was like the site never existed. What makes this case especially chilling is that no central authority ever took credit for its takedown. There were no copyright notices, no public announcements. It was as though knowledge itself decided it wasn't meant to be accessed. Digital breadcrumbs remain. Posts from users recalling excerpts, cryptic, mentions in private blog archives, and a few zip folders uploaded to obscure FTP servers. But most are incomplete, password locked, or corrupted. Researchers have tried brute forcing those archives for years without success. One folder, ominously named Asha Core 9, appears frequently across mirrors, always containing one file. A garbled text document that, when opened, crashes modern word processors. Was Libretto.net a hoax, an elaborate ARG, or a real leak of lost human heritage? Regardless of what you believe, it opened a question few dare to ask. If certain knowledge was removed from human memory once before, could it be happening again? Only now digitally. In 2009, A small online community called Inventor Obscura began gaining traction among engineers, tinkerers, and history buffs. Its stated mission was simple: to collect and document inventions throughout history that were ahead of their time, but ultimately lost, suppressed, or erased. Unlike conspiracy-heavy websites, Inventor Obscura was organized, academic, and surprisingly technical. Users cited patents, old blueprints, and historical documents. They explored inventions like Nikola Tesla's wireless power tower, Victor Schauberger's vortex engines, and a strange 17th-century French design for a flying device that resembled a drone. One post in particular made waves. A user uploaded detailed schematics attributed to E.L. Harnwell, a forgotten American inventor who allegedly created a zero-fuel magnetic propulsion engine in the 1930s. Though the name didn't appear in mainstream databases, some blueprints matched known magnetic field interactions from university studies decades later. Forum members tried to build the device. One user claimed success, but reported strange interference with local electronics, after which the thread was deleted. No announcement, no warning. A month later, Inventor Obscura went offline permanently. Visitors were greeted by a stark white screen bearing only one sentence: "Innovation cannot exist where memory is forbidden." The site's admin emails bounced. Huai's records were scrubbed. Attempts to mirror the site were blocked by unknown scripts that caused severe lag or crash loops. But that's not the only strange aftermath. Multiple users of the forum later claimed their social accounts were accessed from unknown IPs. Some received cease and desist letters from unverifiable law firms. A few even reported being visited by unidentified individuals asking vague questions about intellectual security. What's troubling isn't just that this archive vanished, but how effectively it was erased. The Wayback Machine captures only a handful of Inventor Obscura's thousands of threads. Image hosts used by forum members also reported mass deletions. Search engines that previously indexed the forum began removing cached links. It was as if the internet collectively decided to forget. Whether the forum contained legitimate suppressed technology or simply speculative tinkering, one thing remains undeniable. It represented a rare attempt to crowdsource forbidden innovation. And its disappearance is a cautionary tale for digital knowledge seekers. Between 2011 and 2013, a minimalist WordPress blog titled Quantum Librarian became a fascination among niche online thinkers. Its anonymous author, who never revealed their identity or posted personal content, seemed to have one mission: to catalog theories and findings that didn't fit into any accepted academic model. Each post began with a fictional short story that morphed into a real-life research anomaly. These entries ranged from reversed time perception experiments in birds to claims of non-human architectural patterns discovered in pre-Iron Age cave sites. But what made the blog especially unique was how it linked unrelated findings into eerie constellations of knowledge. One famous post titled, "Echoes in the Carbon," examined the structure of diamond cores found in meteorites. The author speculated that they contained patterned atomic arrangements, resembling early human language glyphs. The idea was wild, yet it referenced real data from a 1999 Russian lab report. Another post, 3 seconds after thought, detailed EEG anomalies that occurred milliseconds after test subjects completed abstract thinking tasks, implying an echo effect in the brain that no existing model could explain. The blog had no comments section, no ads, no bio. Readers discovered it through obscure Reddit links, IRC groups, or metaphysics boards. Then one day, every post vanished. Not one or two, all. The main page redirected to a dead domain, and the email listed on the About section bounced back undeliverable. Archive sites showed blank captures. Forum posts discussing it disappeared within weeks. Some users who tried to copy and save posts reported that their files became corrupted or inexplicably blanked. Despite attempts by digital sleuths to trace the site's origin, no hosting records remained. Some claim the author was a physicist using a pseudonym. Others believe the posts were AI generated long before such tools were public. One bizarre theory posits that the blog was part of a temporal experiment. Information uploaded out of sync with current timeframes, never meant to remain. The quantum librarian lives on as a kind of internet ghost story. Its fragments are quoted in comment sections, remembered in obscure podcasts, or scribbled into notebooks by curious readers who once saw too much. And while no complete backup has surfaced, phrases from its posts have been reported appearing, word for word, in strange places. GitHub commit messages, code comments, even as graffiti in abandoned buildings photographed and shared online. It's unclear if the blog was real, staged, or something else entirely. But it raised one unforgettable question. Can the internet forget something it was never meant to understand? If you're still with us on this digital journey through the forgotten realms of cyberspace, pause for a moment. Let me know in the comments. Where are you watching this from? And what time is it right now in your world? Because as we travel deeper into these unexplored internet vaults, it's only fair to ask, who else is awake while the digital ghosts begin to stir? Now let's talk about something you likely never heard of, the Itamen Archives, a short-lived invite-only wiki site that emerged around 2015. Its name derived from Itamen, the legendary ziggurat believed to have inspired the Tower of Babel. But the contents of the site were anything but biblical. The Itamen Archives were said to catalog non-canonical history, articles about civilizations never taught in schools, cosmologies that contradicted accepted physics, and biological studies of extinct species unlisted in modern taxonomies. The structure of the wiki was oddly precise. Every article cited ancient tablets, government white papers, and obscure publications, most real, some unverifiable. One entry, The 11 Kings of Salt and Smoke, described a supposed Mesopotamian dynasty ruled by figures whose reigns aligned with magnetic pole reversals. Another file, Project Azimuth 93, hinted at a Cold War experiment where dream journals from remote viewers were used to locate lost archaeological sites in the Andes, some of which, according to the wiki, were closed to the public for geomagnetic instability. Users couldn't simply register. Invites were handed out through hidden Discord servers and old message boards. Many who accessed the Itamen Archives said they felt something strange while reading. Not fear, but a kind of disorientation. The language in some entries was laced with patterns. Certain phrases repeated in intervals. Certain words always written in uppercase. One contributor described it as, like reading a spellbook disguised as a historical database. But then, silence. The domain expired. Mirrors failed to load. Archived versions on the Wayback Machine returned checksum errors. It was as though the entire structure collapsed in on itself. Strangely, some users claimed the site could only be visited during specific times of night, and that after a certain hour, content began to change. Articles updated themselves. Citations rewrote. Sections vanished before your eyes. No one has successfully reconstructed the full wiki. Screenshots exist, but they're fragmentary. A few former users say they printed hundreds of pages before the site vanished. Some even believe the entire project was an experiment in perception, crafted to test how humans organize reality when fed conflicting but compelling data. Whether it was a role-playing ARG or an esoteric truth repository lost to digital entropy, the Itamen Archives remains one of the most baffling internet phenomena few ever knew existed, and even fewer can prove ever did. In the deep folds of the darknet, not the clickbait horror stories, but the actual academic, privacy-focused underbelly, once existed a site simply titled Bibliotheca Obscura. This onion address hosted what users called the Internet's orphaned library, a sprawling digital vault of out-of-print books, untranslated scrolls, suppressed ethnographies, and censored theses. The material wasn't organized like a normal site. There were no categories, no search bars, only a black screen and a command line. You had to know what to ask for. Type the wrong thing, and you got gibberish. Type the right combination, and the site unfolded like a maze, revealing directories with names like Thoughtforms Alternate or Aeon Biology Unfiltered. Rumors surrounded the origin of the library. Some claimed it was operated by archivists exiled from academia. Others believed it was an AI project left unsupervised after its creators disappeared. A more chilling theory was that it was compiled by whistleblowers, collecting data too volatile for the surface web. What made Bibliotheca Obscura so captivating wasn't just what it held. It was how specific some documents were. One file titled The Venice Memoir contained diary entries from an unknown 17th century polymath describing machines that reacted to human voice frequency. Another document, allegedly from a Soviet lab, detailed the use of crystal radio receivers to decode emotional frequencies in plants. As always, skeptics called it creative fiction, but the tone, language, and technical consistency hinted otherwise. Accessing the site wasn't easy. The entry protocol involved solving a time-locked cipher that changed weekly. Visitors had to decode clues left in IRC chat rooms, audio spectrograms, or even Morse code embedded in unrelated music uploads on SoundCloud. Those who solved it found themselves with temporary access, ranging from minutes to a few hours, before the portal closed again. Then, without warning, Bibliotheca Obscura vanished. Mirrors stopped responding. Nodes shut down. The original Onion address returned a cryptic ASCII message. Silence is the final archive. To this day, cybersecurity experts debate whether the site was real or a perfectly executed hoax. But for those who accessed it, read even one document, it was unforgettable. They described the texts as if they carried a strange weight, as if merely reading them changed something in the reader, like waking up with knowledge you never knew you wanted. And perhaps that's the scariest part of lost digital archives, not what they reveal, but what they quietly leave behind inside us. In the golden era of YouTube's Wild West, between 2007 and 2012, a channel called 33x Cosmos uploaded a series of seemingly random audio clips. No intros, no thumbnails, no tags. Each video was titled with a string of numbers and letters, but for those who listened closely, they weren't random. The audio logs were distorted, sometimes slowed down, sometimes encoded with odd frequencies. What made them eerie wasn't just the sound, it was what lay beneath. Listeners began to notice patterns, phrases that repeated across uploads, Morse sequences embedded in background static, whispers in languages not yet identified. One audio file, when reversed, repeated the phrase, "It's buried in our memory." Another contained what experts later recognized as altered readings from the Voynich manuscript, a document famous for its undeciphered script. People obsessed over Channel 33X. Amateur codebreakers, linguists, and paranormal forums dissected each upload. Spectrograms of some files revealed visual shapes, geometric diagrams, animal skeletons, even map-like formations. One particularly infamous file, known as log4vxn, when filtered through special audio software, produced coordinates to an uninhabited island in the Baltic Sea. Independent explorers who visited found nothing, but reported bizarre electromagnetic interference with their equipment. Then came the purge. One by one, the videos were deleted. Subscribers reported that even their saved downloads became corrupted. A Reddit user shared a decrypted version of one log, but the post was removed within an hour, and their account banned. Later, an anonymous YouTuber claimed to be part of the original 33X team and posted a 10-minute explanation video. It was taken down before reaching 1,000 views. There are rumors that 33X wasn't a person at all, but a data leakage node accidentally made public. A back-end system testing AI patity earned recognition with real-world unknowns, spitting out corrupted truths from old servers or military research. Whether human or machine, something in those videos felt too precise to be fake. Today, only a few fragments remain. low-quality re-uploads on obscure sites, cached thumbnails in image searches, and a Discord group still chasing their meaning. To outsiders, it's just another internet rabbit hole. But to those who listened, to those who remember the unnatural silence between the static, Channel 33X wasn't entertainment. It was revelation wrapped in noise. And maybe, just maybe, that's why it was taken down. Before Google Maps dominated the digital cartography world, dozens of small projects attempted to offer alternative geospatial data, some of them shockingly detailed. But none were as strange or as swiftly buried as Terra Prime Atlas, a now erased site that surfaced in 2010. At first glance, Terra Prime looked like just another open-source mapping tool. Users could zoom in on countries, satellite overlays, and elevation data until they ventured into version beta 4.1, which allowed access to user-submitted overlays titled Unrecorded Territories. Within those overlays were landmasses and structures not visible on any mainstream maps, mostly small, isolated locations marked with symbols, glyphs, and encrypted notes. One such map showed a symmetrical grid beneath the ice shelf of East Antarctica. Another marked the center of the Indian Ocean, with a faded spiral and coordinates that didn't correspond to any known island chain. The most famous mystery was a map layer labeled Agartha Nexus, detailing what appeared to be an underground transit system connecting vast subterranean cities beneath Central Asia and South America. The overlays weren't just visual. They contained embedded XML metadata with entries like confirmed by OPSEC Echo, triangulated via acoustic drone, and temporal path suggests existence circa 3800 BCE. Whether hoax, art project, or whistleblower upload, no one knew. But within days of the overlays being shared in obscure geography forums, Terra Prime's domain was seized. The site displayed a takedown message referencing international geospatial regulation codes, some of which didn't exist in known legal databases. Users who had downloaded portions of the map data reported unusual issues: file corruption, spontaneous GPS desync when used in offline map apps, and in one extreme case, a crash loop that forced a full phone wipe. A former GIS technician, Evasis, claimed the coordinates from one overlay matched seismic anomalies her team was ordered not to investigate during a UN field mission. Attempts to resurrect Terra Prime have failed. Archive captures only hold blank map tiles. Torrent mirrors were infected with what appeared to be custom obfuscation code. And forum threads that once debated the overlays in detail are filled with 404s or auto-deleted messages. To this day, believers argue that Terra Prime was never intended for the public, that someone accidentally made classified geodata accessible for a brief window. Others insist it was all fiction. But for those who saw the maps, who zoomed in on blank ocean only to find markings, tunnels, glyphs, it opened an unnerving possibility that our world isn't fully mapped, not because it's unexplored, but because we've been asked not to look. After exploring the buried threads, erased forums, and vanishing maps of our digital past, one question lingers like static at the edge of a radio dial. What if the internet isn't just losing information? What if it's being trained to forget it? Not by accident, not by glitch, but by design. Think about how fast knowledge changes online. A link dies, a domain expires, a Reddit thread is removed, and just like that, an entire line of thought is gone. Maybe it's no different from how libraries burn, or how oral histories fade. But in the digital realm, it happens faster. And sometimes it feels intentional. Who decides what gets to be archived? Why do some sites get preserved by bots and backups, while others disintegrate, never to be seen again? The stories we explore tonight, Project Cygnus, LibrettoNet, Inventor Obscura, The Quantum Librarian, the Edaman Archives, Bibliotheca Obscura, Channel 33X, and Terra Prime, weren't just anomalies. They were reminders that the internet isn't just a tool for discovery, it's also a gatekeeper of what you're allowed to remember. And maybe that's the scariest part. Maybe knowledge that threatens systems, be they scientific, historical, or ideological, gets shuffled off the edge. Quietly, without drama. One expired certificate at a time. One broken embed. One 404. Until what's left is only what's safe to be known. But now, you've seen behind the curtain. You've followed the breadcrumbs and wandered through the shadows of digital memory. And if you've made it this far, consider this your invitation to keep digging. Safely, ethically, but relentlessly. Because sometimes, the truth isn't hidden. It's just unfashionable. So if you enjoyed tonight's eerie exploration into the archives, the internet wants you to forget. Don't let this video vanish like the others. Hit that like button. It really helps more curious minds find these hidden seas. Orners. Subscribe to Black Thread Mysteries so you never miss another descent into the unexplained. And hey, if you've ever encountered a strange vanishing piece of online knowledge, drop it in the comments below. Let's rebuild what's been erased, one story at a time. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and remember, just because something's gone doesn't mean it never existed.